Okay, we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second workshop. Once again, I am Sampurn Ratan Jain, Director of Data Science at Geeks for Geeks. In this session, we are again taking a technical deep dive, and we are going to explore how to build and integrate an enterprise-ready agent using UiPath and the LangGraph framework. We often talk about the agentic future, but what does it look like in practice? Well, it's a world where AI agents and humans work harmoniously. We aren't just building chatbots here, we are building autonomous software systems. Agents that can perceive their environment, reason in real time, and execute complex, multi step tasks with minimal human intervention. Today, the team is going to show you how to leverage large language models to drive adaptive, scalable workflows. And crucially, we will be touching on AI observability. Harrison Chase, CEO of LangSmith, once noted integrated LangSmith with UiPath is key to helping builders like us ship agents with confidence. With me to present the session, I have Esibu Jikan, who is a product builder and engineer at heart, with a simple belief that our purpose is to improve people's lives. Building meaningful products is one way of doing that, and he is now working on AI and agents to deliver that mandate at scale. Agent Tamas is a principal product manager at UiPath on coded agents. He drives innovation at the intersection of automation and AI. He focuses on building reliable, intelligent agentic systems that empower businesses to accelerate productivity with confidence. Ayan Minsu is a software engineer at UiPath, driving innovation across coded agents, LangGraph integration, traces, and LLM-powered workflows. As a long-time contributor to UiPath Orchestrator and key participant in UiPath's Python ecosystem, he is dedicated to advancing seamless automation and developer-friendly AI integrations. Now, over to Adrian.
Thank you. Thank you for the intro. All right. In this session, I'm excited to go over everything that is to be related to LangChain LangGraph style agents and the UiPath platform. Our goal here is to show you how you can move from prototype to well-governed production-grade agents. I'll first give you a glimpse into UiPath, and then my colleagues here will zoom into coded agents as we bridge the gap between open source agent frameworks and enterprise automation ready. By the end, I think you should have a clear mental model of when to use automations, when to use low-code agents, when to use coded agents, and how to make them all observable and governable in UiPath. Now let's set the context a bit. The real pain here is fragmentation. On average, large enterprise runs over 175 applications, and each new AI tool, SaaS application, or pain point solution adds more silos, not less. Teams are building chatbots, RPAs, internal tools somewhere else, each with its own logs, governance, and maintenance. Instead of accelerating, the fragmentation often slows everything down. Our focus today is to show you how agentic automation plus UiPath can turn this fragmented landscape into a coordinated system. Who's the hero of this story? Actually, it's the business process. Underneath all of these tools are business processes. And how they actually work is something similar like you see in this picture. Every process with onboarding, claims, support, finance cuts across multiple apps and teams. The challenge though here is often particularly automated or partially manual or rarely visible end to end. If we optimize individual tools but not full processes, we keep shifting bottlenecks without improving outcomes. This is where we say there's a solution to every challenge. So intelligent document processing, for example, solves the document issue. Agents help make your decisions. RPA is the go-to technology for data entry. And human-in-the-loop experiences allow employees to get involved. But there's also an implicit fifth technology required as well. And this is agentic orchestration layer that brings the right technology at the right time in the picture. Now, if we are to take a look at UiPath's journey into achieving this, it wasn't built overnight. UiPath's history will show you some major milestones across the 7+ years since we started building. First up, it was RPA, somewhere in 2018, where we could automate the basic UI elements of the process. Next came human in the loop with the introduction of Action Center and apps. Then we added IDP technology that included both document and communication processing. And recently, we've introduced agentic capabilities, which round up the technologies that require to automate the totality of our processes. But only through a governed orchestration layer does everything tie together. Now, what does this lead to? It leads to the full UiPath platform. Just as your processes are comprised of individual tasks performed by different people, our platform is comprised of best-in-class activities, which can be orchestrated into robust, high-valued enterprise processes. And it's all created on the foundation of trust, security, and governance. Let's take a closer look. If we are to start with RPA, this is where we believe we have the best in class. What we offer is uh, automations across SaaS, across mainframes, thick clients, virtualized environments, legacy systems. You can choose. You can do UI-based automations. You can do API. You could do a blend of both in a reliable and controlled fashion. Now, this can be crucial depending on where you are, and UiPath gives you the proven execution layer to actually put this all together and bring it apart. And it's not just us saying we're best in class. We have analysts putting us in top positions for over 8 years now. We have a wide community of builders, and we have over 10,000 happy customers. We're not stopping here, though. We are continuously improving our RPAs with UI automations, getting multimodal targeting, for example. We've added API automations recently, and we're also making things agentic for RPA. So healing agent comes into play when things go wrong and it fixes it for you automatically in real time. And we recently GA'd screenplay, which is an activity that can take control of your screen within an RPA workflow. Now, if we move over to intelligent document processing, what we have as an offering is what we call UiPath IXP that can give you end-to-end patterns of receiving, understanding, and then acting in documents. First, you upload or ingest documents and connect communication channels such as emails or tickets. Then you can extract them. Those documents using document understanding, generative extractions, or communication mining. Uh, Lastly, we validate those with the needed triggers downstream for automations or agentic. What does the offering look like? It's a combination of three products, basically, with communications mining, handling how or understanding how you act in emails, chats, tickets, and so on. Document understanding focuses on repeatable extractions and validations for structured and semi-structured docs, and generative extraction that optimizes for unstructured or complex documents. Combined, they are your IXP offering. Now, if we are to take one more step into the whole process and how we solve it, moving to the agentic AI bits, let's maybe do an intro to our agents. If we are to take a look on the left and you have your rule-based robots execution that is quite deterministic, your agents on the right are actually goal-based. They have dynamic planning with instructions and models into place. They can as access data based on certain context given with tools that you provide and can escalate when needed. But if we are to take a closer look into UiPath AI agents and see how they're structured, we can see that they have access to a variety of tools like RPA workflows, API workflows, even the likes of MCPs. They have contexts like enterprise grounded contexts within orchestrator buckets. They have external connectors. You can have vector DBs that they can access. Now we support as input both structured and unstructured, uh, but we also have evals to measure the quality over time, and of course with escalation and human in the loop powered by our Action Center apps and assistant as well. One thing that we'll deep dive into today is coded agents, and I'll let my colleagues discuss more about that. But I want to show you a bit how UiPath actually bends the curve. The key design goal is to have a controlled agency. So it kind of gives you uh, a way more powerful agent that you can have without um, taking in the right guardrails, but thinking about this as like a layered structure. At the individual level, you can uh, set guardrails, you can view memory traces and whatnot. But then as you look at more of a platform level, you can define policies, you can see model usage, you can determine how PI is handled and, uh, and all that. Now, the last and an important step here would be the human in the loop. Because not everything should be fully autonomous. Some steps need human judgment, and UiPath supports this with Action Center. And it's actually designed to meet humans where they are. So you can build custom applications, you can have conversational agents, escalation managers for complex cases, and a smooth handoff between these, uh, whether it's automations or whether it's agents, so that they step in as needed and when. For agents, human in the loop is another tool, but when confidence is low or the risk is high, they can obviously escalate instead of allowing guesswork to come into play. And now, if we are to look at what happens end to end and focus a bit on agentic orchestration, we actually provide a way to see the process end to end. And this is where I like to introduce our Maestro offering. So this comes along the way of IXP for data extraction, automations for execution, AI agents for reasoning, and human in the loop for oversight. It gives you this end-to-end view of where your process is at any point in time. So you have this case view of you send a bill, um, you get the task to validate, the research is complete for an agent, the upload is complete for that system of record with an approver, and at the end, the case is complete. Now, all of these might seem complex, but the getting started is simpler than you think. And here, I've kind of laid down the exact steps you should take. Head to Academy and create a free account. It only takes a couple of minutes. See a bit our Automation Developer Associate certification. It's free, and this would give you a solid foundation. And then afterwards, access UiPath, um, cloud.uipath.com. We provide a community free edition there. All of the tools and the resources needed are already provided, and you can start with something simple like um, maybe automating your own work in your personal life and see how that goes. What matters is, to get a bit of hands-on experience. And we also provide a way for you to discuss with other members with via our forum. So forum.uipath.com, um, there are hundreds of or thousands of people there that have gone through this as well. They have experience. You can reach out and get a bit of that knowledge. Now that's fairly it. Five simple steps, and with that, I'll pass it on to my colleague Eusebio.
Cool. Thanks, Adrian. Um, Let me continue the share screen part. Uh, With every
We
new,
cannot hear you, uh, SAB.
uh, Adrian, can
Yeah,
you
I,
hear me?
I can hear him fine, yes.
yeah, I
Okay.
can hear him too.
Okay. Great.
Okay, cool. I hope that everyone can hear me. Cool. So, with every new shiny thing, new viral hype, the new product or concept or technology, we know that there's a lot of noise that comes in along the way, and there are a lot of opinions. Some are lying, some don't, some are important, some are absolutely redundant. And agents, naturally, I would say, are 100% guilty of that. And part of the mission today, and it was for the last session, and it will be for the next one in December the 18th. Part of the mission is to bring some clarity, and I would say to give some good, exciting news in this space. And before we say anything about code agents, before we write the first line of code, one thing that we have to ask ourselves, if you're honest, is it coded agent just another way to author agents, or is it is there something more than that? Do we actually need them for something specific that maybe only in a code agent or coded workflow we can achieve, or just an alternative to the other methods? And the argument here and what we'll present is that the answer to that question is yes. And for the question, is there a real need to supercharge the agents with full code control and flexibility? The answer is yes, and that is actually very good news for engineers and developers in this space. And on top of that, this is exactly where the UiPath coded agents fit in. It's just like an important puzzle piece, they complete the UiPath agentic picture, since they do provide the ability to supercharge the agent with that level of control and flexibility that allows us to close the gap between the hype, the expectations, and actually delivering on the agentic promise. And with that, maybe we can just start demystifying them. In simple terms, coded agents are agents that are authored in code and natively integrated as an agent process within UiPath Platform. And to be more specific, they are developed using a framework like LangChain or Llama Index, which are tightly coupled framework natively integrated. Then these are integrated with UiPath using the UiPath Python SDK to access in-code, inline resources like assets, buckets, context grounding, LM gateway, and so on. Thirdly, once we have that, we have a functional agent with the UiPath context, then we can pack and publish using the UiPath command line interface, which transforms a generic agent, Python code, let's say, into a UiPath package, such that once at the final step we deploy it as a UiPath process, it is a first-class citizen. So it inherits all the benefits, the governance, the security, orchestration layer, monitoring within the platform. So this would be the UiPath coded agents. What would be interesting, and partially we will go through this journey together. The important question is not how we can build only an agent, but how we can have it in production. That is the real hard question. And every compelling answer in this space on how you can put them in production with real data, making real critical decisions, then that is an answer that will be listened in this space. Typically, you would get started with hello world, or most likely with an example, with a template. And here the the space is full of readily available templates, be it on vertical space, meaning for a specific use case in healthcare, for instance, or based on the functionalities like context grounding injection, um, uh, access buckets, and what the deep rag and whatnot. So based on the functionality, you would already have them as a template, but you will customize them in step two, tailor them to your specific case. You would adjust the logic, you would integrate with whatever you have within the UiPath platform, and the principle that if you can code it, you can do it. And this is only at best 50% of the process, because the other important part, which is not that deterministic, but UiPath does provide best-in-class tools for that and some differentiators, is in gaining trust in the agent before going to production. Because as opposed to the typical traditional programming, once it's functional done and you have some unit tests, then you can deploy to production. With agents, it's a bit more nuanced. In order to gain trust, you will need an equal force to test them, to validate them, to evaluate them before you can say confidently, I trust this agent to make autonomous decisions in production with real data. And in this part, we will define evaluators and data points for the agentic workflow. And we'll have a score for them, a confidence score, an accuracy score. And based on that, after several iterations, we can gain trust, have a good score, saying that this will behave as expected once real data comes in. And with that, we can then pack and publish, which is a very simple process. You will see it's basically two commands and you're covered. And finally, deploy within UiPath to orchestrate and monitor. Going on, one very important thing, I think you will resonate with this, is the UiPath Python SDK and the Code Agent SDK is by design intentionally open and flexible, open source, which means that by design there is no lock-in, which is not now, not never. The authoring experience is integrated within the dev lifecycle. You can use any tools. Whatever we are describing here is part of whatever you are developing, not disruptive. You can integrate this within your workflow. And one very important aspect within in the agent space is interoperability. One, because you cannot live without that. And secondly, is that it probably will change. Now we are talking about MCP, Model Context Protocol, which is the emerging standard. We are talking about A2A, which seems to be largely adopted and a must-have in order to make your agents interact with other systems. But we don't know what will happen 1 or 2 years from now, and they might be replaced completely. However, on the UiPath side and on the SDK side, we are already making the decisions that will allow us to adjust and to do that by design. And finally, it's natively compatible with agent frameworks, as you've seen, Llama Index and LangChain with tightly coupled. So once you develop in that, you'll have a full experience within the UiPath platform once you deploy them. Just some quick thoughts on why one would choose coded agents, and you can even think coded agents over other options. And the argument here is that it's not only another option, not an alternative to the authoring experience, it does provide some tools that are essential for delivering on this agentic promise. And one is control. You can blend coded steps with which are deterministic with undeterministic steps. And this is important because we know that the reliability of an agent is tightly coupled with the ability to control the context that we give at one LLM at every point. And with coded, you have full control on how you can inject and what context you give at every step of the way to an agent. Secondly, on complexity, not all cases are simple. Not all cases can be prompted. Some need to go way beyond the simple LM calls and to have branching logic, multiple knobs, steps, trajectories, and you need nuanced decision making, which you can control and give that with in code. In terms of flexibility, again, the principle here would be if you can code it, you can do it. So with code, you can push the boundary of what an agent can do, and you're not limited to what a prompt can interpret and how you can prompt a certain logic and behavior. In terms of customization, the reality that we face is that we will have to integrate agents with a lot of legacy system. And such, you can integrate the agents like tools with bespoke specialized systems and maybe systems that are old that do not expose well-known APIs and so on. In code, you can 100% have the ability to do that. And finally, you'll have reusability, which is something that is overlooked as of now, but the ability to take one agent and to make small modifications, to adjust it to a totally different use case, that's very important in the way we are and will be able to scale the solutions that we already have. And finally, but I think I already touched on this, we do integrate within the ProDev lifecycle. So you inherit the versioning, the testing, the debugging practices, and yeah, we meet developers where they are with coded agents. And I think naturally it comes to this question and when should I go the coded route? And maybe the best way we can argue this would be, are you comfortable using and maintaining code? And if yes, our recommendation is to start with code authoring and continue with that. If no, low code would be a very good start, and UiPath provides a very compelling offering in terms of low code agent building. And there is the middle ground where you might be comfortable writing code, but you maybe need a local tool to prompt the agent for rapid prototyping and testing things out. That would be a very common use case for using a low code, even if you're comfortable writing that code. And because we will touch on the MCP, and you'll see it demonstrated, UiPath is fully onboarded and fully compatible with MCP, supporting virtually every scenario to build and bring a MCP server within UiPath. I will not go through the options, but I'll talk about the first one, the one that you see here highlighted, where we can have an artifact, UiPath artifact, like an automation, an API overflow, or even an agent, and add that as tool, create that MCP server, and expose it to an external client. In our example, we will expose this to uh, Claude, but you can use that as an example to see other clients that can connect from exterior to the UiPath platform and use the artifacts, agents, or automations within UiPath. And with that, I think we are ready to get started, right, Yun? So I will stop my screen and we'll start with a hello world with a very simple example. And then what we will demonstrate is how we can take mandate, a mission, use case, and build it step by step. And we'll emphasize on the ability for coded agents to do that.
Can you see my screen?
It's loading. Yes, we can now.
Yes.
All right. So hello, everyone. So first step would be to go to Cloud UiPath and register your account. It's free. Then you should go and create a folder. I'll skip these steps. We have some folders already configured. You can create them like this. And here, create subfolder. And then go to automations. And you would start locally in a new folder. You would run uv init, then run uv add UiPath LangChain. For the purpose of this demo, we'll show it running commands in Jupyter Notebook, but it's the same thing as running in here. You'll be add UiPath LangChain. Then we'll create a new agent. This creates an everything you'll need for your first agent. The main file will be pre-populated. You'll then need to authenticate to UiPath in your tenant by running the CLI commands. UiPath authentication window will appear in this closed. It will run an interactive browser and authenticate it to your tenant. Then all you have to do to run the agent is create a new input JSON for the agent. We'll create the input and we'll give it a topic to run, AI revolution. This will run a summary. And then you can run your agent locally by running UiPath run with the input file we just provided. And this will run the Python code you see here. It's a LangGraph graph. It generates a report on the topic we specified earlier. It's using either Chat Anthropic or Chat OpenAI, but later on you'll see we also provide some UiPath chats as well.
And while that seems a simple run locally command, like Python that would run a Python script, it does more than that. With UiPath, we recreate the same environment. So we run in the same environment that you would run when deploying to the cloud. So we make sure that whatever you run locally, it will be the same and will work the same after deployment. And hence we have that UiPath run command.
So as you see, when we run this locally, it generated a report for us about the AI revolution period. So now let's pack and publish our agent. First, we'll have to run UiPath init. This will scan our agent and generate the mermaid diagram. Let's see here. This is the diagram of our simple agent that just goes to start, generates report, and then end. It will generate some UiPath folders and everything needed, entry points. We will then have to increase our, well, actually, for the first run, you don't have to increase the version, but the version, to publish the package, we have a PyProject toml that says the version, the agent name. Actually, let's name it agent X, or I can just edit in here and run UiPath pack. This will create a NuGet file. For those who are familiar with UiPath, we use NuGets for all of our automations. And then we will publish this to the tenant feed. And let's go to UiPath Orchestrator now. You can see our package, package was done and published to UiPath called
Right. So now if we go to the tenant as just to see the result and to packages, then we will see of type agent, because this would be of type agent. We'll see that 41 seconds ago, there is a new agent called Agents Geek that was published, and it is the latest version, the one that Yon just published from the command line.
To create it, just to use that package, you'll have to go to a folder and then click Add Process, Agent X. You can see this is the package version I made in there. Specify a default topic like X for X. Next, next, and create. You can also start it, but this one isn't configured yet with our default OpenAI key. I can show you one. Oh no, I think it's the company agent. No. Anyway, if we run this, I have some already successful jobs and the agent.
Yeah, so if you go to the traces, you'd see the full history of that execution, which for now is just a simple contextualized LLM call. But it's the same thing. So whatever you've seen locally, as Jon demonstrated, you can see in the clouds. We now run locally, we pack and published, we created a process out of that, and we ran that in the cloud. And maybe just, for example, we will show how you can access this process from outside using an external application as well.
Yeah, so this one would be run. Okay. So and go to the create process, start the process, and show the job. Now let's go and create our other agent. Sorry for this.
And so if we go to the start, this would be, for instance, a good exercise that would be, we imagine, relatable for you. You want to create an agent for the company, for the employees in that company. And such an agent would maybe be further, would have other agents that would be more specialized. And for instance, policy agent or customer success agent or HR and so on. But obviously, we will not start with all of them. So for the purpose of this demonstration, we will start with one which will be the policy agent, and we will build that one first.
Let me go directly to the step. So to build our company policy agent, we'll be using LangGraph. We'll import everything we need. We'll define our system prompt where we say, hey, you are an advanced AI assistant answering questions about internal policies and what are your policies. Then we define our get context data. This context data is gathered from, just a second, UiPath by using an index. An index would be defined by creating a new storage bucket like this, just the demo bucket policy. Then I would have to upload our file with our company policy, which I already uploaded in here in this bucket, company policy. This would be just a simple policy for now, like what's our paid time off or use AI tools or other company policies. Then you would need to create an index, so like add index, demo index, create our select our storage bucket. First, I would need to select the folder, and then our bucket, company policy, and select basic or advanced. For free, you can for the basic you can use it free of charge with only text, like shown here. But I already created the index or company policy index. So let's go ahead. Sorry, I closed the agent. Let me go back to it. our section. Okay, so to retrieve our policy, we would use our context grounding retriever class for designed specially for LangGraph that retrieves, searches our vast index for a question a user provided. So let me show you how we'll do that. Let's build the agent.
Yeah,
We'll
and
have to
at this step, I think if we go one up, that would be just to confirm something. This would be a helper function, which we'll use in the policy node, right? Get context data async is something that we will use again and again throughout this example to help us have 4 retries of getting that context grounding. This would be for reliability of it. And it emphasizes again that we have control over some steps to increase the reliability of an agent. And what in the next code sample, we see that we have input and output described. If you go a bit lower on to the next section. And here we have the policy node. So firstly, this agent will only have one node, and which basically is defined by this, I don't know, maybe 20 lines of code, whatever this policy node would comprise, which maybe the most important part would be the retriever, the first line after the policy node, which would go to the company policy index based on the index name, which is exactly the same. And if you can show that, if you go to orchestrator, it will match with the same company policy index, which is exactly that one. So this is what we mentioned that in code, we can get the UiPath context and refer it. So you can see with a simple method, we can indicate this is the index that we want from this folder path, and we'll have a vectorized information to feed as context to our policy node, to our policy agent.
Yep. So our agent will get that and add it in the context. We pass to the LLM the system prompt that we saw. We pass our user question, and we also pass whatever context we found for relevant to the user question from our index. So now if we run, or actually I'd like to mention again, you can use chat OpenAI or chat Anthropic or anything you'd like, but you'll have to provide your key. But you can also use our models, UiPath Azure Chat and others, and some upcoming. We have Claude, Gemini, and this would not require you to provide an API key, just it will work out of the box with the UiPath token with the user you are authenticated. And it has the same parameters as the chat, as the OpenAI, for example.
Yeah, and once we have that full functionality and the policy node, this part shown here is part of the LangGraph framework. We define one node. You can see the second line, builder.add node, which is the policy one, and we say deterministically go from start to policy and from policy to the end. And hence, that is the graph that Jon just show you, that one node mermaid diagram.
And then you'll have to compile the graph. So let me show you how this runs. I already prepared the file with this. Again, we have to init our agent to rebuild the mermaid diagram. So like my colleague said, it goes to start, and actually, maybe it's better if I show both. The graph describing here, it goes from start to policy to end. And okay, we visualize the agent. Now it's time to give this agent a question like, hey, what's the paid time off policy for taking 3 days off? We'll save the question to an input file. And
Sorry,
then,
I see an ask to please increase the font size as it may not be visible to all.
oh, okay.
Thank you.
Oh, this is better.
Yeah, should be better.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we can run the agent locally. Like I said, it will take the file we just wrote in here with the question, and it will give us the answer from our context grounding.
Yeah, while it loads, you can open the text file to see where it will look like. Yeah, so you do have here the first part, paid time off, which is the context that we give to the LLM, and based on this one, it will understand the interpretation of it and come back with a response.
Yep. Okay, so it said.
And I can see for 3 days off, it understood one of the line would be applicable, and I said for 3 days off, you'll have to contact your manager via email 1 day in advance.
All right. This part covers how we pack and publish the agent. Should I go through this, Eusebio, again?
I think you can just show how you can use the Claude to call that agent. So they have the same caption that we have it locally, or how I want to request PTO, but to do that via an external app. You can open Claude.
Yeah. So this agent we just built, we have it in here. It's called our company agent. And first, you'll have to create an MCP server like this. We'll add an MCP server, and you can select lots of tools for your MCP. For example, UiPath exposes the RPA or agents processes as tools. Coded MCP commands will not go through them in this demo. But our MCP would look like this, MCP demo, and then add our tool and choose our agent, company agent, and click add. But I'll not click it. We already have it defined in here. So to use this MCP server, I can either go to edit or click the URL, go to Claude. Second.
And in Claude, to have access to this agent, we'll have to provide only 2 things. One is a personal access token, and the second one is the URL that Yon just copied. And you can edit the configuration, which is just a JSON file, and use we can skip the personal access token part.
Okay.
So we can go to edit configuration to that JSON and see how we can add simply a new MCP server there.
So this would be our Claude configuration. And I already added in here MCP servers, the company policy. We're using NPX, a local MCP that runs in the CLI that actually ties to our remote MCP, uses the header with our personal access token. So let's ask Claude something. And of course,
Okay, let's
you
ask him the
see,
same question as you did locally. And maybe you can copy what you have in input.json just to see.
yeah. So we have the company policy in here, the MCP we just added. So I will just copy the same question in here. As you can see, it uses our company policy agent. I'll allow it. And Claude will actually start our agent in the background. So Claude, UiPath runs our company policy agent. Well, and of course, part of the demo effect.
Yeah, while it loads, you can show a previous example, the one that we just ran. So in this case, it correctly identified it as the tool to be used, and with that, we try to make a call to that. So you can show some previous runs in Claude as well.
Yeah, I have it. So I had a similar question. I need to buy something. It called our company policy, and the company policy answered the questions, and Claude made the output out of that.
Yeah. And now with that, we can imagine that a simple node with a company policy would be somewhat useful, but not a complete, fully useful company agent. So now we will start building on top of this. All right, so let's go to the next one. Yeah, and here you would like to add maybe one more node, which would be procurement, right? And to add that, we would need a supervisor node. If we go up into the first part of that section, we'll add the procurement node, but now we have to have a way to dispatch the request to the appropriate specialized agent, because the questions can be either from policy appropriate or procurement appropriate. So we'll add an intermediate node. We do have this control with coded agent, coded workflows to ingest an unstructured input, make a category and classify it, and based on that category to dispatch it to the appropriate specialized agent. Let's see how this goes.
Okay, so that the supervisor node that looks for these categories.
And in the let's go back to the supervisor node. So we have added as categories. We have two of them: company policy and procurement. Now, and with that, we have an at the next line result equals await LM invoke. We do send the initial request to an LM to classify whatever question comes into company policy and procurement.
So our new procurement mode would look similar. You would go to you'd use the retriever we just used, the same, actually use another index for the procurement index, not the company policy. And then we'll pass the LLM, you are the procurement agent, here's the user question, and here are the procurement docs you need, and the LLM will answer our question. But we'll also have to route now if the question is about procurement or company policy. To do that, LangGraph offers us a conditional edge on the graph. So Right now would go to supervisor, and the supervisor has to route through either policy node or procurement node. And after that, it will go in the similar flow. So let's sync and visualize our agent. Run UiPath init again. Okay. So this updated our mermaid diagram. So as we said, it goes from start to supervisor node, then either policy or procurement. And this is more and the policy or procurement does different things if
Yeah, because it has different context and it will address different questions. And now we can test it. We will give one question that would be more appropriate for the policy, and we'll see if it gets classified correctly and dispatched to the policy node, and then ask again a procurement question. So first one, we'll start with the procurement question, which you can see there is no keyword saying procurement, but it says, can I buy an OpenAI subscription for company use? And the expectation here is that the LLM will figure out that this is more appropriate for the procurement node or procurement agent and will label it as such.
I think OpenAI is throttling us again.
Now, if not, we can run the same command in with our internal with our agent, with our LLM.
It's a great way to show how easy it would be to plug and play our own chat. So this is the original OpenAI chat. Then I'll just use UiPath Azure Chat. And if I run this again, it should be faster. Yeah, as you can see.
You can see we have two nodes here. The one, the supervisor, and for the supervisor, the category was procurement. It was dispatched to procurement, and the response is that yes, you can buy OpenAI subscription up to, I don't know, $10 being that is the company procedure. And now we can do the same thing, but ask again a policy question, and we'll see that it will go the other route, and it will be dispatched on the policy node. So let's run the next one.
We're gonna change
We have this new, the new input, and the question here is, what is the PTO policy for taking 3 days off? Similar, or it's the same question as before, but now we have an intermediate node, which is the supervisor one. And as you can see, the category expectation is now to be company policy, and the next node to execute it is indeed policy with a similar response as we've seen before.
So we shown the deterministic logic and
and on top of that, as we go closer and closer to a real use case, coded agents and agentic workflow offer control in the sense that now deterministically on the procurement path, we can add another step, which will be reached regardless, which is validate email. Because for the procurement, which is more sensitive, we want only the people in the company to access that. Because as you can imagine, maybe it's not only about data retrieval, but maybe we expand that with ability to actually start a procurement procedure. So for that, we will add another node to validate the credentials before allowing the request to reach the procurement node. And if that validation is not complete, then we'll just reject the request. Okay, let's sync the agent, initialize it. And once the initialization is done, we can see the mermaid diagram. Okay. And on the procurement route, you can see this verify credential intermediary step, which what it actually does is verifies if the email is within a certain domain. For instance, if it's another domain other than, in our case, UiPath, it will be denied if the email is within other domain. Let's test this out. So now we'll start with
we modify the
well,
input
yeah,
again.
we had the same input, but as you can see now, the output at verify credentials, so the second node, the response is failed. The email and code are required for procurement. As you can see in the one above, we did not provide anything about the email and the code, and hence the request was rejected. And now let's try to do a legitimate one where we do provide an email and code and see if it validates that as an legitimate request and go on to reach the procurement agent to give us the appropriate data. In the input file, now we added the email, which is within the UiPath domain as we coded, and we add the valid code. And we just rejected some sets of codes for this example.
And again, maybe, yeah, I have problems with OpenAI chat. Not to brag, but our chat seems to be a bit more reliable. Oh, it actually used that one successful. As you can see, our supervisor verified our credential and it went through the procurement node. And we have a successful execution. We go to the next demo. Let's go to the next one where we.
Sorry, I was on. Sorry, I was on it. So the one particular advantage with code agent that I think it's most often overlooked is the way you can have something functional and use parts without having to prompt them along the way from scratch. For instance, now we want to add a new node. Nothing fancy at the point, just to add a new node, which would be HR, and to be plugged in into the way we have it with supervised that it can dispatch to this node. So what we can do, we'll just copy the policy node, we'll add another context, and for the supervisor, we'll say, just so you know, there is a new category, which is HR. And now if you copy the code, we synchronize the code, and we go to the main file now, to the supervisor node. Yeah. And as you can see, the categories before it was company policy and procurement. The only thing that we had to do in order to adjust to the HR node is to add HR. And that's it. And for the HR node in itself, we just added a new context. And hence, with the proper data, we could easily extend the agent. And we can just now test it out.
Okay. So again, I'd like to schedule an HR screening for Eusebio. And I'll run this. Actually, let me think we ran in it to show the new mermaid diagram for this. Second.
Yeah, you have the new node, the HR1, and now we'll just test if I'm asking an HR related question, if it correctly routes to that point, which it actually does, the response is that the tool selected for this is Greenhouse. It's just a generic response there that is HR specific. Now, on top of that, now if we move on for the HR flow, we want to customize it and to be very specific, such that we use a local DB where only a very controlled, deterministic set of people in the company would be added to that list. And if it's in that list, then it's granted permission to the HR information, which are typically sensitive. And we'll add that not with APIs, but controlling in code via a local DB. Let's do just that.
So we modified our main.py, running it again. So let me show you our new mermaid diagram. Now it checks the permission in the local DB.
So while this runs, two quick questions that came on chat. One, if it's recorded, is not or live, and you saw us fixing it live. And the other one was if we're going to share this this code, and we will provide a Git repo for this. It's public.
So now for our simple DB, we're only going to allow Eusebio and with the new input. Maybe let's look at our HR DB, HR of JSON.
Yeah, it's a simple list you can think that can be a proper full DB that we are working with.
So again, with the greenhouse.
Yeah. And
But
for instance, if we change the input and we say someone from UiPath, which is not in that list, then the expectation is that deterministically it will go to the permission check local DB, and in that DB there is only one authorized email, and that one will be rejected. It will not go through, will not share any maybe sensitive or restricted detail that we have in the HR agent. Okay, and I can see it is not authorized. Okay, and now we can move on to the final example, and then we can open up for Q&A. Most often than not, we might need in certain cases and at certain points to have human in the loop. When the agent cannot autonomously and confidently handle the transaction, then the alternative is not to fail the entire workflow, but to ask for that additional context from a human to approve. And for now, just for example, we will add at the supervisor level a human in the loop if the confidence score in the category is lower than expected. So let's say now it has to route between HR policy and procurement. And if we have a question that is not well fitted for any of them, then it will trigger an action within UiPath, a task for someone to say, I think this is the appropriate category. Okay, so let's see how that works.
Okay, so we ran now our question like I met a prospect at a conference. I need to add him to CRM. This question won't fit any of our previous workflows in here, like HR or procurement or policy. And when we run this, it says interrupted because this needs our supervision now.
Yeah, and the interruption created an action. Let's see value equals create action, which is an action, a task in UiPath.
So I'll go to actions. Actually, let me show you that the agent is suspended. Got to show that. We're not running in this folder. Oh, actually, yeah, we're running locally. Sorry for that. If we were to run this on the cloud, it would show agent suspended. All right, so we have 2 pending tasks. Oh, this task was assigned to Eusebio, but I think I can open it myself, right? Or Eusebio
Yes,
would like to.
yeah, you can assign on yourself. You do the task.
Like I shouldn't approve my own task, but yeah, what normal flow maybe would be like, hey, I need to buy something, to procure something, big OpenAI subscription, and my boss should approve it or something like that. It would go in here, but the tasks are not loading again. Again with the demo effect. Eusebio, see if you can load your task on.
It is the same. It loads on my side as well. But I think you can show a completed task to see how it goes.
Yeah. We're running on staging route now, guys. So
yeah. So once we have here, we would have a comment and approve and reject, and the two informations, which is comment and approve and reject, will become, if you go back to the code, will become a new dynamic context for the agent to resume on, and we can resume the execution, incorporate that one, and dispatch it to a different node. Okay. So yeah, with that, I think we concluded the demo where we maybe in a fast paced, we went over a lot of concepts. So I think now it will be appropriate to open for questions, and maybe you can direct us to any aspects or things that you would like us to highlight.
I just wanted to say that to interrupt, we support many interrupt types. One would be this action that you interrupt. So use the same LangGraph interrupt function with create actions from our SDK. That creates the action automatically, and then the action data after someone approves or rejects the action, you'll have it in here, like approve or comment or anything. Oh yeah. Any questions?
So there's one question. There's a couple of questions from Kamakshi. She's asking, how are you storing the credentials? And then for the permission check, are you using some database? If so, what is that?
Okay, let me answer the permission check, and maybe you can take the credential one. So for permission check, in this case, we created a JSON file which acted as a DB, which was the easiest way to demonstrate it. But as you can imagine, in code, we can connect to a actual database, but the principle for the agent would be the same.
Yeah. So regarding credentials, UiPath can store credentials for your agents, any agents, using the assets. I'll just add an asset, create an asset, my credentials like this, or actually secret is more appropriate for the agents, like an OpenAI key, doesn't matter. Create them in here. Then when you edit the automation, you can use the assets, my credentials you defined in here. So you wouldn't store the credentials in code or in the package, you would add them in here. Or someone with appropriate permissions that can edit assets and everything can add them in there. These, of course, would be available as environment variables for the agent that's running the Python code.
And you would get those environment variables in the standard way of os.getting env, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Locally, when you run UiPath auth via the CLI, it will make you a .env file. I think I can show it. Oh. It contains an OpenAI key and access token and everything you need to run locally. Maybe just 1 second. This would be. But this .env is only available on the local. When you run UiPath back in here, that would create your NuGet package. The NuGet package does not contain the M file. Some files get ignored in the package. But then the access token and everything, UiPath URL organization ID would be pre-filled when you run on cloud.
Okay, let's see if there are any other questions. I think there is one about the memory of the agent.
Yeah.
Now, in this case, it was designed to have a one-shot question. So you would have an input, then an output for the agent. So this is not intended as a conversational agent, but as you can see, when we interact with Claude, then we might have informations that were used from other sessions. So this is within one session, you'll have memory, but within multiple sessions, you have multiple options. One is in code to direct a database where we do store the context from previous conversation and reload them as context for the newest one. And we can also enable that as a memory based on traces within UiPath.
Yeah, wanted to say when you use interrupt, and you can use interrupt multiple times to take multiple turns, the graph state is saved between interrupts. But after the agent goes to the completed state, yeah, that's terminated. A new agent will come and have a fresh graph state.
Yeah. Another question is, once we created our UiPath Cloud account, can we access the files? Files are already in the open. We will share the link. But once you create a UiPath account, you have there all the entitlements that you need to have a successful run of this. Yes.
Including LLMs.
Including LLMs. Yes.
So another good question that I saw was how do the agents remember the conversation? Are we using some session ID or are we going to maintain a memory? What is the way of adding
Yeah,
memories?
I think we answered before with the options that we have.
Okay.
For some reason, I don't think the code link got shown in the reply some point.
Okay. Uh, think.
All right, if there are no more questions, should we do a quick wrap up?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that would be appropriate.
All right,
Please,
can
to be
I
honest.
quickly share?
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, one sec. You can see my screen, right? Can we also bring it up? Perfect. All right, so where to next from here? The idea would be to start from samples, sample agents, some using tools, others just simple. We also shared an example of how you would use orchestrator MCP servers. There are plenty of other examples on the web as well. You can also start from scratch, and I'm sure you can do it. But if not, coding agents can help, the likes of Cloud Code and whatnot. Then consider operationalizing your agents once you see it brings you value. So using the CLI, using the UiPath SDK in the CLI to package it. In the next session, we'll show you how to properly add evals in Studio Web and then deploy it as a process. You can monitor it in Orchestrator, but also in Agent Instance Monitor and so on. Now, if you do decide to scale it, you can include it in Maestro flows. You can obviously extend it in using escalations where it matters. And my colleague Hirion showed you how to do so. And also extend its observability with AI trust layer. So you can audit it and how it's used. You can set policies. You can also include PII or prompt injection protection. Now we have a new session. We have another session on the 18th of December, where we will show you how to gain trust in your coded agents before moving them to production. And that was it.
Thank you guys. So for some reason, I'm not able to share the GitHub link, but if you guys just try to search for UiPath slash prodev
Uh,
dash lab.
it's
Uh,
it's github.com/UiPath/prodev dash lab.
dash.
Yes.
Yes. So the repos are available over there. All of the sample code that you saw today, much of it is available there. So just to cover a couple of your questions. So Adrian, I think we missed a question at the very early uh, time. So basically,
Oh,
when
sure.
you were introducing the UiPath platform, somebody asked, how is RLHF being used in the system? So
How is what? Sorry.
that RLHF, reinforcement learning via human feedback, right? Is
All
that
right.
some? Yeah.
Yes, we do have that element built in as well. So you could either provide feedback in traces of what it did right and what it didn't. But within our action center, when you do provide feedback, because it escalates as it doesn't have a high enough degree of confidence, you can choose whether to update the agent memory with what you respond or not.
Okay.
And we do use
So
a vector like DB to that gets constantly updated with the new info.
yeah. So another good question that I saw was, so let's say we have some MCP servers, right? How do we bring those MCP server tools into this UiPath platform? Is there a way, or is it integrated via LangChain or something like that? Yeah.
There are
Yeah, so
several
we have
ways.
four ways to do that. One is to build
There are
actual
several ways.
agent
Okay.
within,
Uh,
yeah,
okay.
to,
Then we covered the
Sorry.
min.
For some reason, LCB started answering.
Oh,
We
sorry.
have four ways to go about that. LCB, please
yeah.
please go ahead.
So the four ways are one is to create a UiPath MCP server, which you would do that by adding as tools automations, API workflows, agents, and so on. And those would be the tools for those agents. That's one option. The second one would be a coded one. You can build an MCP server in code using a framework like Fast MCP, and you can pack and publish similar to what you've seen today. Pack and publish to the UiPath in the platform and use it as a coded MCP. Another one would be a command MCP server, which you would via a simple command get well-known MCP server within UiPath, and we can host it. And finally, a remote one where you have just a proxy, a tunneling to an existing MCP server that is built and hosted outside UiPath.
Yes. There is also a quick question of how do we test these agents, and this is exactly what we'll cover in our next session on the 18th of December. Thank you for asking.
Uh, there's another one. Could you please tell me if we can use this agent for Arabic policy? I think that would depend on the language model that you use, right?
Yeah, I think it's based on what model you choose. We have
Yeah.
GPT 4.0, Claude, some versions, and some Geminis.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess you have to refer to those agents and
Having
those
worked
models.
with,
It is model dependent, but the beauty of coded agents is that you can connect and choose whichever one works best for your use case.
yeah, switching over was very easy as we saw.
Yeah.
We even support bring your own, right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Uh, so I guess this is it. Uh, so I guess guys, that wraps up workshop number 2. We just saw the blueprint for for the future of automation with very uh, little code, I would say. We saw how the reasoning capabilities, how to combine reasoning capabilities with LangGraph and the execution power of the UiPath platform. We built agents that are not just smart but technically enterprise grade, right? We are moving towards the reality of autonomy slowly and steadily, and we are moving towards deployable, reliable, scalable workflows. A big thank you to our speakers for showing us how to build these agents. And thank you to everyone in the audience for engaging with us. I am Sampurn Ratan Jain from Geeks for Geeks. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.